Hey guys, it's Dawn and I am super excited to be making today's video. As you can see, I have a stack of The Elf and the Goblin right in front of you. These are personal copies I printed out to give to family and friends that asked to read the story. If you don't know, The Elf and the Goblin is a gunpowder fantasy take on Pride and Prejudice that I wrote for the Indie Bookworm book box. I want to be very clear from the get-go that this is not a video on how to publish with Barnes & Noble Press because these, like I said, are just personal copies, so it is a slightly different process. But if you are interested in learning how I got these personal copies made, how I formatted, put together the cover and back cover, then keep on watching this video. Let's take a closer look at the outside and inside of the book before we jump into the tutorial. Obviously, you can see here's my front cover that I designed on Canva myself. I also designed a back cover just to make it feel like a real book. I wrote a blurb. I have a little excerpt from the book just for fun, but I kept it pretty simple. You can see here there is a barcode. This is not an ISBN, so this is not for resale. This is not a published book. This is simply a personal copy. So this is just the barcode for basically what Barnes & Noble is selling you as somebody who's buying personal copies for yourself to give to family and friends. I will go more into this in just a little bit, but Barnes & Noble Press gives you the option to upload an entire single image that has the back, spine, and front cover all together in one image, or you can upload the front and back covers separately, and then you can just edit a spine on their website, and that's what I chose to do, and I will go into that at that point in the video. Let's continue on into the actual contents of the book. We have a blank page, which I feel like is pretty standard, so I added that in. Title page, dedication, and then jumping right into the actual manuscript. I kept my chapter headers really simple just for the sake of easy formatting, since I was doing the formatting myself on just a word processor. And I also made sure to have page 1 start at the actual beginning of the manuscript rather than the entire text document. Very quickly, before we jump into the tutorial, I wanted to give you a size comparison. This is the 9x6 size. It's a relatively standard size, but I would say the most common is actually 8x5, which I'm pretty sure that's what this one is, just to give you a comparison. So not a huge size difference, but just to give you an idea. But there are plenty of books that are published in this size, especially in sci-fi and fantasy, since there tends to be a lot of longer books in science fiction and fantasy. So this is a good example. It's a 9x6. And then you can see also for comparison, I've got just a mass market paperback right here. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of what to expect as far as sizing. Now let's jump over to the Barnes & Noble website and we will start this tutorial.
Okay guys, let's start out on press.barnesandnoble.com. I am actually on Microsoft Edge because for some reason for the last couple weeks I have not been able to get this website to load on Chrome. I don't know if I need to update Chrome or what's going on, but we're on Edge. Don't roast me. It's actually working really well, so I guess I'm not mad about it. But make sure you're logged into your Barnes & Noble account, and then once you're on this page, go to Projects. Now, if you're just creating a keepsake book, you're probably going to see this warning here about vendor registration. You don't have to worry about that. That's just if you're actually self-publishing, so ignore that warning. And this you won't see because this is about like the cover of one of my keepsakes I printed. Anyways, you won't see this second warning, so just ignore that. But we're going to head over to this button right here, create a new book, so I can show you how this process works. So of course we're going to hit print for the type of book we want to create. You're going to put your book title. This one doesn't actually matter. You don't have to put your book title here. It's just for saving your project. So you can put anything here or you can put your actual book title. So this next step is important. We're going to be clicking on the Keep It Personal option because we are doing a keepsake book. But if you are trying to make an actual self-published book, you would click on the Sell Your Book option. Okay, and this is kind of the fun/overwhelming page where you start to look at what size you want your book to be, whether you're printing it in black and white or color. Do you want it hardcover or paperback? what finish do you want, all that kind of stuff. So the first thing you're going to do is select your estimated page count. So this does not have to be exact for now. So if you don't have your book already formatted with your page count, that's all good. Just estimate it. So I'm just going to pick 201, 250 just for the sake of this. And then you're going to select your page size. So for my book, I did the 6x9. And then once you choose your page size, it will give you the interior print color options. I just do black and white because I'm not, adding any artwork or anything for my keepsakes. But if you are adding stuff like that, which you totally can, you have some color options here. But I'm just going to select black and white. So Barnes & Noble does give the option to do a hardcover with a printed case and a hardcover with a dust jacket. However, just for your first time, I do think it's easier to do paperback. I think I already said that earlier, but that's just my advice. If you're not a graphic artist, you don't really know what you're doing, how to measure all that, just do paperback. It's so much easier, but if you are graphically talented, you can go for the hardcover, of course. You have a matte and gloss option. I love matte for some reason, but obviously you choose whatever appeals to you. And then you do have paper color options. I'm not really sure what things you have to choose for this to become an option, but I always just choose white 50 pound. Okay, and then it gives you an estimated printing cost per book. This can change once you actually upload your book if the page count is higher than this or lower than this, but that's a good estimate, and I think that's about what I spent on my keepsake books. Okay, so the next step is to actually upload your interior file. So Barnes & Noble is awesome because depending on what you select as your page size, it will give you measurements to help you out as you figure out the formatting. So make sure you consult these measurements. They're super helpful as you're working on your formatting. And speaking of formatting, let's jump over there and I will show you how I did my formatting. So for this part of the video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how I did the formatting for my print manuscript. I don't want to go into a ton of detail in this video because one, I want to keep it short, and two, I know not a lot of people use OpenOffice. Most people use at least Microsoft Word, or you've got a fancy formatting program. I don't even know the names of those because I haven't really dabbled in that yet, but I use OpenOffice. I don't know how useful it would be for me to go through a step-by-step guide. However, if for some reason you are somebody that wants that, just let me know in the comments and I'll make a separate video getting more in depth with how I did this on OpenOffice. But let's just talk in general about the formatting. So first of all, you'll notice that I do have a blank page. And in order to do that, of course, you do have to have two pages because it's front and back. So this is when you open the cover, this is going to be that first page, and then this is the back of the page, if that makes sense. And then, of course, I did my title. And then again, you have to have a black or a blank back of that page. And then my dedication, blank back of the page, and then jump into the actual text. So let's talk about the margin sizes. Okay, so you can see right here, once again, I won't go into crazy detail, but this is how I have my margin set up. I'm pretty sure I looked it up at the time to see what was standard, or Barnes & Noble Press actually told me. I will double check for the video, but this is what I have. So you have an inner margin of 0.75 inches, and then all the other margins, outer, top, and bottom, are 0.63 inches. And then I'm not sure what it looks like on Microsoft Word, but you do have to have a mirrored page layout, which is how it sets up as if it's a book, if that makes sense. So that's why, if you can see here, these are both the inner margin, even though on this page it's the right side of the page and on this page it's the left side of the page. Those are both using that larger inner margin measurement. So make sure you have that set up. But like I said, this is OpenOffice. I don't know how Microsoft Word is set up. But that's how I did the margins. And then honestly, a lot of the other stuff is just you do it to your taste, So grab a copy of your favorite book from your bookshelf and just look through it. What does the font look like? Google what the most used fonts are for printing books. Like I used Garamond because I saw that that was one of the most common ones and I thought it was pretty. I like the aesthetic, so that's what I used for printing my book. And play around with font sizes for like your title page. You can really do it however you want. You know, there's no set rule, especially for a keepsake. Like if you really want to, just have fun with it. Like it doesn't have to look a certain way. But what I was going for, just because I enjoyed the feel of it, was just to make it try to look as much like a published book as possible so that it felt real to me, if that makes sense. So that's what I was going for, but you don't necessarily have to do that for your own keepsake. As far as the line spacing goes, I looked it up just to see if there was a general rule, and basically the answer I got was it depends. So it really depends on the font, because different fonts have different looks, you know, even across the same line spacing. So you kind of have to experiment with it. I once again grabbed a copy of my favorite book and I just kind of held it up to the screen and thought, okay, what's the spacing like here? And I just tried to copy it as best I could. And then with the chapter heading, I kept it really simple. You could probably add artwork. You could, you know, write out chapter 1, write out a chapter name, whatever you want. But just for the sake of simplicity, I just did a number because that's just what I wanted to do. And I knew, you know, as somebody who doesn't really know how to format, I didn't want to mess with anything too crazy. I think I mentioned this when I showed you guys the actual physical book, but I also made sure to have page 1 be the actual first page of the book rather than, you know, right here being page 1. It took me forever to figure out how to do it, and I had to Google it a couple different times to get it to work. So as with anything, as you're formatting, whether it's on OpenOffice or Microsoft Word or an actual formatting program, if you run into issues, just Google it. Like there are so many people that use the same programs and run into the same issues, and I guarantee somebody else has the same question you have. So just Google it. You're going to find the answer and fix it really quickly, and it's not going to be so bad. So that's what I had to do for figuring this out. But yeah, formatting for a keepsake book is actually really easy as long as you're not trying to do anything too complicated, like adding images and original artwork, all that kind of stuff. So it's annoying to initially set it up, but once you figure it all out and get the look you want, it's really easy to get all the chapters in there and get it set up how you want to. So once you have your file ready to upload, you can just click here on skip to upload your file or click directly on upload right here. And then you'll click here on select from my computer to import your file. And remember, it does have to be a PDF. Jumping back over to my word processor, I wanted to show you guys how to easily save your document as a PDF. So my favorite way to do it is just to go to print, and then you should have this option if you have a PC, Microsoft Print to PDF. So from there you would just hit print, and then it'll give you an option to choose where to save it, to give it a file name, all that kind of jazz. But it is so easy. I think this also works on Microsoft Office. I could be mistaken, but I think if you're subscribed to Microsoft Suite, they do give you a better option on how to do this that will give you a higher quality, higher resolution PDF. But if you're a cheapskate like me and this is your only option, it is very easy just to use the print PDF option. And that is how I got this PDF of my book. Very, very easy to do. And I think as long as you're not trying to add any beautiful images and complicated stuff to your document, you're not going to have any issues with the print quality. I've checked my book and it just seems like a standard printed page. So like I said, if you're not adding anything super complicated, it's probably not bad to use the print to PDF option. Once it's uploaded, Barnes & Noble will go through the process of reviewing it. I'm not sure exactly what that entails, like if they're actually checking for copyrighted content or just checking that the formatting isn't totally crazy. Not really sure, but there is a reviewing process. Now that you're done with the interior of your book, you are able to work on your cover. So right here you have two options. You can upload front and back cover files separately, or if you're really fancy and awesome at graphic design and know how to do this, you can upload a full cover file yourself. If you click on this option, it'll give you measurements and stuff that you can work with. I tried to figure it out, but I just have no skills in this area, so I decided to play it safe and just do this option. Here are the measurements it will give you on the next page. Obviously, this depends on what size you chose for your pages. This next part of the process is the fun part, unless you're trying to figure out how to do your cover art as one image with the back, front, and spine all combined. I'm not a graphic artist. I don't know how to do that, especially on Canva. If you're smarter than me, you can probably figure it out. But here's just my quick how-to for creating a separate front and back cover, and then, just making the spine with Barnes & Noble. So right here, you're going to click on Create Design, and then you're going to go down to Custom Size. So obviously, it's just going to be whatever size you chose for printing your book. So for our width, we're going to use 6 inches. Oh, make sure you change that over here, because otherwise pixels, it just gets crazy. So 6 inches by 9 inches, whatever you chose, because obviously you might have chosen a different size. And then you just do Create New Design. And you have fun. There's lots of free stock images on Canva. If you haven't used it before, you can upload your own images. Just make sure you have the right to use anything on here. Obviously, you're not selling this as a product. I can speak English, as a product, so there's not as much of an issue, but Barnes & Noble still checks. Because I think maybe it's a liability for them if they print something that has copyright on it. I'm not really sure. So make sure you're using free stock images. It's especially easy if you're just using it straight from Canva. They have tons of stuff. That's what I used. And they have tons of beautiful fonts. So there's a lot that you can do. Make sure you scroll through kind of their example stuff, because there's a lot of effects that I didn't know about when I was just doing add a heading and trying to edit it myself. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with the fonts. So yeah, and then same thing for the back cover. I just kept it really simple since I had a very dark theme. I did a black background and then just put my blurb and my excerpt from my book. So that was really, really easy to make. And then once again, if you're going the easy route like I did, the spine is just something you type in on the Barnes & Noble website, which I will show you. Guys, make sure once again, when you save these files, save them as a PDF. So that applies to the front and back cover and to the interior document as well. So just go up here to download. You can change the file type right here. I use PDF print because it says it's the highest quality out of these two options, and then you just download it. So we're switching over to one of my other keepsakes because it won't let me continue unless I upload an interior file, and I just don't have one for the sake of this video. So we're just on one of my other keepsakes, and I'm going to show you how to do the covers. Okay, so let's skip to upload. So it'll give you this option right here. Here is the front cover, here is the back cover. So you'll select from your computer. Again, this does have to be a PDF, and if you use Canva, it's super easy to save as a PDF, so that's no big deal. So upload your front cover here and upload your back cover here. And then if you selected the option to let them do the spine for you, which is what happens if you upload a separate front and back cover, you have the option to fill in your spine. So you can put your title, you can put your author name, you get to choose the spine color, and you have, I guess, infinite options because you have all these different colors and shades to choose from. And then you do have some font options, but they are very, very limited. So it's just these 5. So what I did for both of my keepsakes is just played around with each of them, just comparing it to the cover to see what looked best with it. It's not perfect. Obviously, it's better to do the full cover yourself if you're looking for the aesthetic, but for a keepsake book, it's really not a big deal. You can also choose the font color for the spine as well, so you can try to match it to whatever the color was on your cover. So after you've uploaded everything, it basically gives you the option to submit it for review. It's really not giving me it right now because I do have an error with this cover, but you would scroll down here, click on this to certify that there's no copyright issues and all that, and then you would do save and continue. And then once you get to this option over here, review and order, it will give you the option to just basically submit, and then at that point you have to wait to be approved before you can order your book. So I can show you how it looks right here. So you can see this was my first keepsake I ever made, and it didn't have an issue before, but for some reason they have an issue with the cover now, even though it was a free stock image. Not really sure what's going on with that. So you can see that it's marked that it needs attention, so I'm no longer able to order this one. However, you can see down here with the Elf and the Goblin, it has the status of ready to order because it's been reviewed. They're okay with it. I'm able to order it. Oh, and actually you can see this ended up being my price when everything was said and done. This does not include shipping. If I remember correctly, they did send me an email notification when it was approved. So just watch your email, check every day or so. I don't think it took very long to be approved. It took less than a week for sure. I think it only took like 1 or 2 days to be approved. I'm guessing it takes quite a bit longer when you're actually publishing your book, but for a keepsake, it's relatively straightforward, especially if you're just using stock images from Canva, like I did, for example. So it really shouldn't take that long, but that's what it'll look like right here, ready to order. And then you have this button right here that lets you buy. Okay, and then you can go over to view shopping cart. And from here you can add more copies or just leave it at one, however many you need. I think these are super reasonably priced, and I was quite satisfied with the quality of all of the books I received. I ordered 11 in total, one initially just to make sure I did everything properly, and then a batch of 10 to give out to friends and family. And I think they did a really great job on them. It was well worth my money, and I think the shipping rate was quite reasonable.
That is my brief guide on how to print a keepsake copy of your book using Barnes & Noble Press. I hope this tutorial was useful to you. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions or need any further clarification on anything I went through today. Once again, let me know, you guys, if you would like a more in-depth tutorial on how I did formatting on an open source word processor. I would be totally happy to do that. If you end up using Barnes & Noble Press to print a keepsake copy, I hope it goes really well and really smoothly for you and that you're satisfied with what you get. Good luck on all your writing goals. I wish you the best of success, and as always, happy writing. Bye!